A key witness in Donald Trump's alleged hush money scheme appearing before the grand jury today. David Pecker, former publisher of the National Enquirer, was seen leaving the building where the grand jury is impaneled after 90 minutes. Here's what former President Trump said about the case tonight.
People are pleading with the prosecutor, don't do it, don't do it, it's wrong. Even Democrats, even people that traditionally are not exactly my fans are saying, don't do it, because I didn't do anything wrong. I did nothing wrong.
We're back with our panel. LZ, Nicholas, Scott, and Lauren are back. Well, he's not wrong. We have had many Democrats on this panel saying, don't do it to Alvin Bragg because there are other cases that, not because he didn't do anything wrong, but because there are other cases that they think should go first, LZ.
Right, he's conflating the two, right? Because he is right? There are a lot of Democrats saying don't do it, but it's because they want the more substantial case to go through, not this one. But with that being said, I don't think it really matters if he did something wrong or if he didn't do something wrong. His supporters are going to be there for him. They've already proven that. I think at this point, it's about whether or not the rest of the American people want to see a U.S. president go to jail because it's never happened before.
Well, I would submit they don't. I mean, I would submit that Americans don't like to see former presidents go to jail.
There's polls on this. There are polls on this. So the most recent poll is that actually more Americans than not, so 43% of Americans polled versus 34% said they want to see the president. They believe the president, that they believe Donald Trump should be indicted and that he should be subject to indictment. That's the polls. So
yeah, I think
his supporters clearly not. But there is a turning tide, I think, of public opinion which believes that he should be held accountable if he breaks the law.
And I just want to be clear. I wasn't. What I thought you were saying is a former president. Like I think it can be upsetting to the fundamental kind of bedrock of the United States of thinking about that. But Donald Trump, when you put it in the Donald Trump form, it's different because, you know, people don't like, there are lots of critics of Donald Trump and lots of supporters.
Well, no, fundamentally the bedrock of American democracy is that we don't have a king and that no one is above the law. And I actually think it's as American as it gets, that if we believe in the principles on which our nation was founded, then everybody should be subject to the same laws and the same rules, and everyone should be able to be indicted if they break the law. If a jury of their peers, as established in the United States Constitution, finds that there's reasonable cause, then they should be. And that's part of what actually that is fundamental to our system.
I'm also in favor of people getting arrested and indicted if the prosecutor thinks it's a crime. Here's the other thing. I think people are looking at this in a 3D chess way a little too much. You know, it's not going to help Donald Trump if he's indicted and then he's indicted again and then there's another case later. And
are you sure? Because he has raised millions of dollars off.
Well, he can raise a lot of money and he's always going to raise a lot of money. But I'm sure if you look at his record as a person who's sort of very involved in elections, following 2016, he's lost every single one of them.
Sure has.
Right? And it's because of a big mess, scandal, gross stuff like this. You know, suburban voters in the Atlanta suburbs are going to look at this and they're going to look at the other 7 scandals between now and whenever. And they're going to say, no, give us the other guy or the other lady. And
here's what one of his supporters, and I know that's not who you're talking about, you're talking about suburban swing voters, but here's at the Trump rally this weekend, talked about what this person thinks would happen if Donald Trump were indicted on this particular Stormy Daniels crime. Listen to this.
Shoe-in, 100%. If they do that, he'll be a shoe-in.
If 100 million people are going to vote for him, if they do indict him, you're going to get 120 million people voting for him. Because they're just, you know, you can't take an honest man down.
It doesn't change a thing about his integrity and everything else. We all have sinned. We all have some things that we've done.
Your thoughts on all this, Scott?
Yeah, I dispute the political wisdom of believing that this indictment will deliver 50 million extra votes, although that would be the most amazing voter turnout program in the history of American politics.
Miracle.
I mean, the reality is, though, the people going to the rally who got in line several hours in advance, I mean, they're ride or die. Nothing, I mean, look, he has a base of support that it's not going to change. It's going to be there. The only question is whether someone else in the Republican Party can consolidate what I think is over 50% of Republicans who want to do something else. And right now, there's one person who is in position to do that, and that's DeSantis, and he's not there yet, but that's the thing. Analyzing this whole political situation, like, no one's going to take those voters that we just showed away from Donald Trump. Nobody. The DA or Ron DeSantis, no one's taking them away. But what you have to do is consolidate an anti-base who just thinks it would be better if we did not have a rematch between Trump and Biden. And you know, that's a great strategy because like 80% of Americans are dreading this rematch, and I think that's a message that will sell.
Let's talk about Stormy Daniels.
I'd love to.
Because, Lauren, you have a great angle and take on her. What do you think that she has done so effectively?
So I wrote a piece for Politico today called, and the headline really speaks for itself, Stormy Daniels, Feminist Hero, ? But I asked the question actually very seriously, and I really break it down because when you look at the history of past presidential sex scandals, from Gary Hart to Monica Lewinsky, you know, these were women who were forced or chose to remain silent for decades. In Monica Lewinsky's case, she didn't speak publicly for 10 years. Rice did not speak publicly for 31 years. And part of it was because they would only lose in the public eye. And I think what's interesting and different about Stormy is that this entire case is about her wanting to speak and her trying to speak. And in fact, you know, it starts because, you know, in 2011, she tries to sell her story. Then she tries again in 2016. Pecker strikes this deal with Cohen to silence her, to pay her off, to kill the story. But over and over again, she comes back to try to tell her truth. And she's certainly trying to do that every day on Twitter, which I got to say, she's a master of the medium. If you haven't seen her Twitter feed, it is really
and you said that today was a particular gem.
Oh, it was magical. I don't think it's appropriate for these airwaves.
Basically, let me just say this. Somebody tweeted at her, Donald Trump, a Trump supporter tweeted at her, Donald Trump wouldn't touch you with a 10-foot pole. And she had a spicy response.
She said instead it's a 3-inch pole. But anyway, look, she only ever refers to him on Twitter as tiny. Like, she has this incredible ability to use humor and frankly her history and her profession to emasculate him. And he, you know, his whole persona is built on this macho idea. But it's funny, but it's also really serious because ultimately one of the biggest issues in this country is the silencing of women, our inability to speak out when when men have tried to silence us. And in this case, she rejects that. And I really walk through in the piece like why that's actually important and that I hope that it actually changes things. She's uniquely able to do that in a way because she's chosen a life of, you know, let's say no boundaries. Other women who might want more traditional lives and not have their sex lives, you know, splashed across all the front pages might feel differently. But I think what she's done is actually really important. And we're at this point potentially at an indictment really because of her.
I so agree with you because it's not just about being an adult film star, right? It's about being sex positive. And I think part of the reason why women are silenced is because culturally we're not sex positive, but because Stormy Daniels' profession, she is. And so you couldn't handcuff her to her sexuality because she celebrates it.
Well, and she's rejected all the norms that would have held her back from speaking out publicly. And you can say what you will about the industry. I think it can be very exploitive of women. I'm not endorsing it. But I am saying that I think in this moment, it's worth acknowledging how hard it is to speak out no matter who you are or where you come from. She's faced threats. She's had to hire extra security. It's real stuff for her. And I think we should take her seriously.
I have to move on, but I sense you're itching to say something, Scott.
No, I celebrate her entire catalog. It's fine. I don't.
That's not where I thought you were going.
I do have a question for you, though.
Yeah.
Do you think she's a role model for young women?
Oh, tough question. I think all young women should be free to choose whatever life and profession they want. I think there is something powerful and brave about being willing to confront a bully who tries to silence you, no matter what you do, no matter what your profession. I don't care who you are, where you come from. Every woman should have that right.
Thank you all very much. Now to this deadly tornado.